What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a special live stream here across the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. Thanks for being here tonight. Don't forget to hit that like button on your way in. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, your number one place for Philadelphia Eagles news all the time here across the network. We appreciate you for being here. Don't forget to drop your comments down below. And I look forward to talking to some of the great people in the chat tonight. Some news tonight, not really news, but just a clarification of the comments that A.J. Brown had go viral with the Twitch streamer Janky Rondo. Shout out to Janky Rondo. Great show he had with A.J. Brown. And obviously, a lot of people ran a lot of different directions with what A.J. had to say on stream with Janky Rondo. Now we got more clarification from A.J. and his media availability in the locker room. I will play those comments for you here on the show. Before we get into that, before I play the video for you so you can see it yourself, I do want to remind everybody I'm not doing this to talk about the drama that comes with this. I think that's, at the end of the day, I'm not really concerned with that. I'm more concerned with the problems that A.J. Brown is talking to. Full disclosure, I thought A.J. Brown was excellent in these comments. Makes so much sense to me. Sometimes it's hard to understand how people don't see what he's talking about. I get a lot of pushback from people who say it's not what he's saying, it's how he delivered the message, in the Twitch streams and the Instagram post. And I'm like, why are people more concerned about how he delivers the message versus what the actual message is? There's a problem, and then there's the delivery of the problem that AJ is getting across. Everybody's more concerned with the delivery and how he's giving that message than they are about the actual problem itself. I think we got to focus on the actual problem that AJ's talking about here, because I think he shed some light on things, spoke very eloquently, honestly, and handled it well. I really thought he handled it well. So let's play the clips from A.J. Brown. This is courtesy of Devin Caney on Twitter. All right, I'll put that disclaimer on the screen, and let's listen to A.J. Brown today in the locker room.
Start the comments that you made on the stream that have been making the rounds. Is there any perspective or explanation that maybe you wanted to give everyone for some context behind those comments?
Which content? Which comments are you referring to?
I believe it was a Twitch stream where you said, I think you alluded to the fact that you weren't totally happy or things weren't going well work-wise.
Yeah. I think I think that's fair. I think if you got eyes, you can see that.
No audio? Why am I
things
getting no audio here?
Uh,
Darn it. I can't turn the sound up. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'll pull it up for everybody. My bad. My apologies on that. Let me go to X and pull it up that way. I thought doing it that way would be better, but I guess I can go over here and pull it up this way. My apologies for that, guys. This damn thing drives me crazy. Is there was audio? Theo says he can read lips. Theo's always got jokes. All right, let me pull it up this way. See if it works this way. Yeah, it's the video is what it is. Here's Devin on Twitter. You can maybe this will be better. No, it's not any better.
Stream that have been making the rounds. Is there any perspective or explanation that maybe you wanted to give everyone for some context behind those comments?
which content? Which comments are you referring to?
I believe it was a Twitch stream where you said, I think you alluded to the fact that you weren't totally happy or things weren't going well work-wise.
Yeah. I think I think that's fair. I think if you got eyes, you can see that. The same things I've been saying like all season. So me making light of my situation on Twitch with my friend, that's something I'm not apologizing for. Because like I said, if you got eyes, you can see that. And so that's me trying to laugh through my situation. So yeah. How do you see your situation? How do I see my situation?
What situation
Trying to figure it out, trying to get this thing rolling, trying to help, so.
What AJ, this past game, it has been on the target first two drives, and you had that. It took until the final minute for that play. Why do you think it just never came your way?
I don't don't know. That's a question I can't answer. I think, like I said, I think that's fair.
All right, let me bail on that. The audio is just not good enough. I apologize for not having the audio. I do have some quotes I'll rattle off to you guys. Full disclosure: the reason that I don't air the Eagles channel is that they threatened us with a copyright in the past. So I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to go down that road and risk the channel. So I apologize about that for the audio not coming through. I wanted to play the clips I wanted to play the video for everybody, but I do have a bunch of quotes that I'll read off to you guys. But really, my main takeaways from the audio and from what AJ Brown said is mostly, I don't know if it's as Jalen Hurts as many thought. I think it's pretty clear he honed in on this. Feels philosophical to me. And I know a lot of people are going to jump right to Kevin Patullo. I don't really think it's Kevin Patullo either. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Now, is that to say that Kevin Patullo has been good? It's absolutely not to say that at all. Okay? It's not to say that at all. But there's a philosophy that Kevin Patullo is calling plays within that is instituted by Nick Sirianni and the philosophy of the offense at large. So that to me is the bigger problem here. And AJ really hit it pretty well. I'll rattle off some quotes to you guys. I think it's fair. I think if you have eyes, you could see that. That same things I've been saying all season. So me making light of my situation on Twitch with my friend, that's something I'm not apologizing for. Because like I said, if you got eyes, you could see that. Shoot, that's me trying to laugh through my situation. So that's a quote there from AJ Brown. Here's another one. I see that the offense is struggling and I want to help contribute. I didn't get those opportunities. I'm going to have a problem with that, especially the player I am, especially the player you want me to be. As a player, that's tough for me. That's tough for everybody else because everybody wants to contribute. Even Smitty said somebody had to make the play. We're trying to put ourselves in the best situation to make those plays. You just got to get an opportunity. I didn't get that. Another one. I think it's fair for me to even say that we do need to do a better job of creating for me, trying to help put me in situations to help contribute. But right now, it just feels as if I'm freeing it up for everybody. And then he quotes on winning. It's not that I care about winning. All I care about is stats. No. It's been week after week. Sometimes we're not contributing. We're not doing our job on offense. You can't just keep slapping a Band-Aid over that if you expect to win later in the year. You think you're just going to go at it. You think you're just going to go to it at the end of the year? It's not going to effing happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Last year, what it was, thank you for the ring, but it's a new season. They adapted. We have to adapt, and we have to continue to get better and find new ways. That's where the frustration comes in because it's not about winning, you guys. I want to win, yes. I want to help contribute as well, do our thing on offense as well. I think that's fair. And that, to me, is the main comment right there. When you talk about the winning and you talk about the contributions that the offense needs to make, this is a player who he's pent up, man. I mean, if they do lose a game, if they aren't able to go the distance, it sounds like, do you understand the gut feel he's going to have with not contributing to the team? I mean, he wants to contribute to this football team. He wants to be a reason that they go the distance. And I know some people are out there will say, well, if that's not what we need to win, then why is he bitching? I think he's highlighting that he doesn't believe how we're playing offense right now is going to allow us to go the distance. And, make of that what you will. I think that's a good comment, RCR. He expects greatness. Absolutely. He does. I fully understand AJ Brown, and I respect AJ Brown. I don't think the selfish comments, I don't think that he only wants targets. I don't think any of that is being honest about who AJ Brown is as a player, as a person. I think he's far more mature than people let on. And I think he's 100% correct about this offense. I really do. I think he's 100% correct about this offense. Now, Jalen Hurts also spoke tonight. I didn't have a chance to listen to Jalen Hurts yet, but you can tell that, Jalen is always going to speak a little bit more on the company line. That's just who Jalen is as a player and as a man, kind of. He was obviously raised with a father who was a coach, came up that way. went to the Nick Saban school of don't give anything to the media. So he's always going to kind of have the approach of not going to give much. Company answer, we're trying to work on it. I'm focused on the collective. That's okay. I'm okay with that from Jalen Hurts. And I think this dynamic that we have with AJ speaking is exactly what you need here. A lot of people say, take the C off his chest. I'm like, you don't want all leaders that say the same thing, that provide the same thing. You have a leader in Jalen who, as he says, focuses on the collective, outwardly, publicly, and I think internally. That's a good thing. Then you have a player like A.J. Brown who is always going to be there to say, we can be better at this. We can do more here. We can improve this area of our game. And I think that's exactly what you want. You don't get to multiple Super Bowls, by not trying to be better, by not trying to improve week in and week out, by not trying to, dominate your craft day in and day out, week in and week out. And that's what A.J. Brown is saying. That's what he's bringing light to. And the other thing that he's bringing light to is the defense is doing everything for this team. It can happen. It can happen. And when he talks about the evolution or the change from last season, look at the running game. Last year we ran Saquon Barkley at 2,005 yards, at 8th most in NFL history in a season. He ran for 2,500 total, including the playoffs. We don't have that right now. 7 of the 9 games, Saquon has been held to under 60 rushing yards. So we're not running the ball well right now. We're not throwing the ball well. And AJ is simply saying to you, right now we are a team that's held together by our defense and special teams to some extent. We're not contributing on offense. We're not doing what we need to do on offense to get this team to where we want to go. Now, again, many are upset with the delivery from A.J. Brown. I, for one, do not give a shit about the delivery. I don't care if he tweets it. I don't care if he does cryptic Instagram posts. I don't care. I'm focused on the problem. And A.J. is 100% right when it comes to the problem. What the problem is. There's the problem and then there's the delivery. This is what doesn't matter. What matters is the problem. And A.J. Brown has very clearly stated what that problem is. I'm going to take a bunch of comments from the great people of JAKIB Nation here as we talk about what A.J. Brown spoke about tonight. I really think the main takeaway from me is this is coaching. This is coaching, and it might not even be Kevin Petula. This might be a philosophical difference that A.J. has with Nick Sirianni, who back in week 4 of the 2024 season, coming out of the bye week, changed the philosophy of this team. He completely changed the philosophy to embrace the running game, to approach, to take on a risk-averse approach. If you remember, Jalen had 7 turnovers in the first 4 games of the year last year. After the bye week hit, they were 2-2. They come out with this run-first approach. And ever since week 6 of last year, Jalen Hurts has 57 touchdowns and 7 total turnovers. Now, that isn't a very impressive statistic, but it is inflated in a way of that's because they're playing this risk-averse offense. That's because they're doing things. That's the reason A.J. Brown's pissed, right? That's part of the offense that's allowed them to be so risk-averse. Jalen deserves some credit for it, absolutely. But that's the philosophy that they've taken on offense. And A.J. is basically saying to everybody, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to go the distance this year. Now, I know there are going to be people. I see Yale in the chat. It's working. Yale, it worked last year in a very unconventional way in the NFL, and you had a very unconventional running game from a perspective of it dominated. I mean, how many years have we been playing football, Yale, and how many running backs have there been running in games, in the National Football League history? Saquon literally was historic in that, You don't have that right now. So is the approach that same offense that we have is going to take us the distance? I think Saquon's going to get going. I do. I think he's going to get going. But 7 of 9 games, he's been under 60 yards. So right now, if you're going off of the information that we have available to us, we can't assume that running game is going to be the same. And that's that to me is why the offense needs to evolve a little bit this year and why this risk-averse approach, which is a good one, clearly with all the winning that they've done, doesn't work as well or is more susceptible to get thrown, to get turned on its head when you don't have the great running game. Now, the defense coming along so far, man, looks amazing. So that's a huge advantage here. But we're getting later into the year. You're getting into November football. We had our first cold weather game. There's going to be a lot more of them in the second half of the year. The offense looked, again, pretty bad. Now, credit to the Green Bay defense. They did a lot of things well, but that offense did not look good, And A.J. Brown, I love that he said, I'm not going to apologize for my comments. No, never let people bully you into the choir boy mentality. Fuck that. I hate people who say that. AJ, just get in line. AJ, just say the company. Screw that, man. We need somebody pushing this offense, and A.J. Brown's the one to do it. And by the way, he's 100% right in my opinion. He's 100% right. I do not believe that this team will go the distance if they don't have more consistency in their passing game. Or forget their passing game, in their offense. Forget the passing game. In the offense, if they don't have more consistency in the offense, I do not believe you can just have the approach of, well, because we have the talent, which they certainly do, because they have the talent, we'll just turn it on at any time. That was another quote that A.J. Brown had. You can't just activate it at any time. You can't just activate it at any time. I want to read you something that I got response to me tonight on Twitter. This is from Bob Brown on Twitter. Bob's active in the chat. I'm not sure if he's here tonight. Z, the way he handled the question should put a lot of people on Team AJ. This is a man that understands you cannot just flip the switch and hope things happen. Consistency builds success. The passing game is anything but consistent. And I completely agree with Bob Brown, and I'll even go deeper than the passing game. I'll say the offense at large, the whole offense. They got to be better. And I think A.J. Brown is just telling the truth here, man. I think more people are going to be more receptive to this style of commentary because, look, a lot of people are bitching about the delivery. And I don't care about the delivery, but apparently everyone is. So hopefully the way he delivered these comments will have more people understand what he's talking about and why he's talking about it. And I've been Team AJ this entire year. I will stay on Team AJ because anybody who watches the Eagles games understands that this offense has to be better. The offense has to be better. And I know we used 24 as a crutch where we said the same things last year and they went the distance. There were some extreme circumstances last year that are not present this year, which means it's going to require a different version of this team, a different version of this offense, Now, I was talking to my buddy Prince. Prince is in the chat right now, but, Prince was bringing up how this is a Nick series. He thinks he is under the impression, and I don't fully disagree with him, by the way, as I alluded to a little earlier in the show tonight, that this is a Nick Sirianni problem. This is the philosophy from upstairs, not even Kevin Petula. I know I don't think Kevin Petula has been all that impressive. I really don't. I think he's figuring things out. I think it was a bad decision to go with the first-year play caller for this offense. That's beside the point right now. I think he's calling an offense within what Nick Sirianni wants them to be and wants them to do. When you say to somebody, be risk averse, that's like telling a point guard you can only get points by laying it up. You can only get points by laying up. All of a sudden, their game is going to look clunky. They can't shoot from the outside. They got to try and get to the rim constantly. They're trying to play a more risk-averse game. So Kevin Petula was trying to call plays in an offense where you have to be overly risk-averse. It's a very hard thing to do, and many of us are expecting the passing game to be better, everything to look better on offense, to have fluidity on offense, to get A.J. Brown involved. You know how hard it is when you don't have that running game to call an offense that fits the risk-averse approach that they're taking? I mean, that's why if you think about it, guys. What's one of the biggest gripes that people have had with Kevin Petula this year? The routes, right? The same routes over and over again. Why do these routes? The same go balls, the same out routes. They don't throw to the middle of the field. Guys, that's risk-averse. Kevin Petula is trying to call as many different variations of those routes as he can. But there's only so many routes you can come that fit the risk-averse approach. Thrown over the middle of the field, you can get great plays. You're susceptible to tip balls. You're susceptible to turnovers. You're susceptible to interceptions. So I'm of the impression that right now, at least, and we'll talk to John McMullen about it in the morning on Birds 365. When you're hamstringing your coordinator like that, that's obviously going to permeate down into the players, who's really to blame. And I don't really want to sit up here and play the blame game all night, but I think AJ spoke in a way tonight that was very succinct and clear in what he was trying to say. And somebody asked him explicitly about Jalen Hurts in that, hey, there's clips of you running wide open and you don't get the ball there. And that would have been if AJ Brown's problem was Jalen Hurts, he would have taken that question and had a completely different answer. He would have had a completely different answer than what he had. I'm sorry I can't play for you what his answer was. But his answer was, you don't know what goes into the progressions. That quarterback has pressure in his face. He's got to read the defense. We can't just speculate on a screenshot that I should have gotten the ball in some play. And that answer to me was just okay, it's not AJ, it's not Jalen Hurts he's pissed off at. It's not Jalen Hurts he's pissed off at. It's not Jalen Hurts that he's pissed off at. It's the approach on offense. It's what they're trying to accomplish on offense. And it's the way they're calling plays within that offense, And I think that's key context here. I mean, that is key context here because, a lot of narratives will run on this. You're going to, and look, I've been guilty of it. At times I wonder, is this Jalen Hurts? Does Jalen Hurts suck? I mean, why does the offense look so bad? I'd be lying to you if I said I don't think that sometimes. But the way AJ expressed it tonight really made it clear to me. I don't think that's what he's saying at all. I don't think that's what he's saying at all. I think he is saying we have a problem with our approach and the way we're trying to play the game on offense. And if you remember a couple weeks ago, he made a comment, you got to let the killers kill, let your dogs eat, basically. Let your great players make plays, and that to me is the problem here. So very good clarification from AJ Brown. It's certainly something I will be using in the shows the rest of the week. Now, I would like to take some questions from the great people. I will get to our super chats. I want to welcome everybody in tonight. I apologize for the audio being too low for you to hear on the AJ Brown comments, but they were good ones, and I encourage you all to go and listen to them. AJ Brown spoke tonight, clarified his comments he made with Janky Rondo on the stream, and said, I'm not apologizing for anything. This offense isn't good. And I'm paraphrasing now. I'm not apologizing. This offense isn't good enough. The defense is carrying their weight and we are not. And we need to be better. We need to be better. We need to stop living on, we won the Super Bowl in 24 because that's not what's going on this year. And I thought AJ Brown was an absolute, was tremendous in his media availability tonight. So let's take some comments from the great people, but that is what happened. I'll take some comments. Ryan Gardner, what's up, Ryan? His body language says everything you need to know. Yeah, you can tell, man. He's angry, Ryan. He comes off to me angry. Not angry like in a super negative way, just in a way of we got to be better. And if you don't think we have to be better, that's a delusional thought process, basically. I agree with you. The body language tonight said a lot. Hi, here. What's up, brother? Appreciate it. You would have thought the org learned from the Brian Johnson hire. They should have hired an experienced offensive coordinator to bring in new ideas and utilize this offense. I agree with that completely. I think Nick has a little bit of I don't know if I want to call it ego, because I really don't think Nick is holding on to this offense because of ego. I don't. I think he's holding on to it because it's won so much. It won last year. It's 7-2 this year, And until there's, clear evidence that this is not going to work, I don't think Nick is going to want to change, but maybe AJ speaking like this will bring about some change. Because, I mentioned earlier, Jalen Hurts is a little bit more of a company guy. Does anybody remember the rare moment when Jalen Hurts was not a company guy earlier this year? Does anybody remember that moment? It was on the field with Pam Oliver after I believe it was the Rams game. It could have been the Bucks game. It was one or the other. Rams or the Bucks with Pam Oliver in the post game. Okay? And he said, we need to be more aggressive, basically. So that was the one moment, like AJ or Jalen, when he walks to the podium and he's got Bob Lang in his ear and the PR staff and everybody telling him, walk the company line. And I think he wants to do that because he doesn't want to stir the pot at all. He does that. And he says vanilla things. But in that moment with Pam Oliver, who's always had an ability to get some comments out of Jalen Hurts, he admitted, we got to go for it. We can't play to lose. So I will remind everybody of that as well, that, you add that in with what A.J. Brown said tonight. They're telling us why they play the game this way. They're telling us why they play the game this way. Now, I do agree it's starting to look more stubborn, Ryan, but again, a lot of winning. Like everybody tells me, man, when I bitch about it on the shows, like I'm not playing victim here. I don't really care. I do that, but this is what I do for a living. I talk about the Eagles for a living. So when I come up here and I make comments about this offense, people get very upset. Zander, we're 7-2. You're a fake fan because you're upset and we're 7-2. I've had that comment 50 times this week. So that maybe is Nick's approach. We're winning. We're winning. I think it's got to change. I don't think this is the philosophy to get to the Super Bowl this way. All right. I'll read this one. Oh, no, I got that one higher. Thank you, buddy. Papa Bear, what's up, dude? Can we have Brian Daboll for offensive coordinator? I don't love that, dude. I know Brian Daboll has a history with Jalen Hurts at Alabama. I will remind a lot of people that I don't know how that relationship ended. If I'm not mistaken, that was the when Jalen Hurts got benched in the national championship, I believe. No, that was 2017 national championship. Or the 2018 national championship. Yeah, and Tua went in the game. Who was the offensive coordinator at Alabama that year? Because I know he was with Jalen Hurts at Alabama. Yeah, Brian Daboll was 2017, 2018. So that was that year. I'm pretty sure that was that. I'm pretty sure Island says no, it was his first year. Daboll was 17, 18, dude. Mike Loxley was the year after with Tua. I'm pretty sure I'd have to double check that. But Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator. That was when they benched Jalen Hurts in the national. Now, again, Jalen's a completely different player than that now. I'm not trying to bring that up to like rag on Jalen at all. I'm just saying I don't know how that relationship ended. I don't know if Brian Daboll's the right guy. I mean, if you think about it, he didn't really bring the most out of Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts developed his most as a passer when he went to Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, and then obviously, I mean, he's like a night and day player compared to what he is in college. But so I agree. I mean, can someone double check that for me? If Brian Daboll, it says he was his 2017 coordinator. I'm not remembering. I know, it all runs together back. I was at Bama at the time though, but I remember Kiffin was there, I think my freshman year when they lost to Clemson in the championship game. And then it was Daboll and then it was Loxley. So I can't remember which one was there, but I'm pretty sure it was Daboll when Jalen got benched for Tua in the national championship game. All right. So that's a part of their history. I'm going to go Papa Bear. I'm going to opt out on Brian Daboll. Eric Long says, this is not a Kevin Petullo thing. This is a Nick thing. AJ and Smitty praise the hire and continue to praise KP. This is Nick's approach. Eric, you are right that the evidence is mounting. The evidence is mounting that this is far more Nick Sirianni than Kevin Petullo. The evidence is mounting that this is far more Nick Sirianni than Kevin Petullo. So, I'm going to get the I'm going to pull up. I want to get clarification on the on the – who was the coordinator that time? Nobody pulled it up for me, so I'm pulling it up now. Give me a second here. Yep, Brian Dable was the offensive coordinator. Yep, Brian Dable was the offensive coordinator that year. They had Mike Loxley listed as the co-offensive coordinator, which he wasn't the offensive coordinator. It was Brian Dable. So Brian Dable was the offensive coordinator that year when Jalen got benched. So probably not something you want to go down toward. Eric Long, this is not a KP thing. I read that. I appreciate it, brother. Prince says their excuse is Jalen Hurts, Zander. Why they won't put AJ in the slot or move him around? He cries out for help. Help me, I'm being double teamed. Prince, I understand. I mean, I don't know what the fix is, Prince, other than Nick changing his philosophy. You know? And yes, Sig Lord, correct. It's irrelevant on changing the coordinator. I mean, look, that's what we're talking about right now with Kevin Petula. But Prince, I mean, look, here's the problem with this. Not the problem, but Prince, I'll just try and shed some light on where the other mindset comes from. It's pretty hard to watch an offense and it be this inept at times, and for people to not naturally go to the quarterback has something to do with it. Like Prince, if you look at every other offense, like in literally the history of football, like literally make it that big of a sample size. When an offense is great and when an offense is trash, how many times do you legitimately take the quarterback out of that evaluation? Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like that doesn't happen often. A quarterback is a part of the evaluation of an offense. If the offense sucks, a lot of times the quarterback has to do with that. When the offense is great, a lot of time the quarterback has something to do with that. So I think that's where the mindset comes from. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying that's where it comes from. And I think AJ Brown, honestly, kind of put that to bed tonight, you know, in my opinion. Kind of put that to bed tonight. Yeah, this is an approach on offense that we're taking that we need to change. You know? This is an approach on offense that we need to change. Prince, appreciate your chat, my man. Jose, what's up, dude? If people say it hurts too so much, then where did the offense in the Vikings game come from? The OC was aggressive, but this team is handicapped because of the head coach. Well, the only problem with using the Vikings game as an excuse is people look at the full body of work and they say that it's just too inconsistent to expect that week in and week out. You know, it's like saying the running game's going to get going when really they've only run 1 week versus the Giants well, and it was the Giants. You know what I mean? Like that in one game, that 1 of 9 games is not enough for me to say, okay, they're going to keep doing that. So I think that's where that comes from. But yeah, I mean, look, that's what basically what AJ Brown said tonight. This is an approach on a philosophy on offense that we need to change. You know. Let's go to Bird Moneyline. What's up, dude? Z, do you think playing risk averse is the reason for our success over recent history? Well, you look at 22, very successful team. They were certainly not risk averse that year. Not at all. Jalen pushed the ball down the field. He ran RPOs a lot. I know it was a different type of offense in that way. But, I mean, that was one of the best years I've seen from Jalen Hurts. Obviously, he was runner-up in the MVP. Some of the throws he made in that year and that Super Bowl. I mean, I know we lost that Super Bowl, but I still to this day say the single best game I've ever seen Jalen Hurts play as a quarterback in my life was Super Bowl 57. Some of the throws that he made in that game were surgical. That throw on third down to complete the Dallas Goedert. Does anybody remember that? Goddard stepping out of bounds on the right sideline. I mean, he layered that throw. That was a perfect throw. That was the best game I've ever seen Jalen play. Now, the only reason I bring that up is because you say risk averse. 22, literally this close to a Super Bowl victory, you know, if not for a James Bradbury hold in the last play of the game. That close. That close. Risk averse was not in their DNA in 22. So I cannot sit here and say the risk averse is the full reason for the success. That's ridiculous to say. You know, even 23, I know 23 people think negatively about because of the collapse at the end of the year. But if you think about 23, they were top 10 offense. They were 16th in the passing game. I believe was 23 the season that you had 6 straight or 7 straight 125-yard games for A.J. Brown. He had like 900 yards through 9 games that year. He had like 900 yards through 9 games that year, 23. Now, again, 23 had its own problems. They were one of the worst defenses in football. But I think people way overstate how bad Brian Johnson was. So, again, They weren't risk averse. They were a much more successful offense. Did he have a lot of turnovers in 23? He did. He did. They are trying to limit the turnovers. So maybe you could point to that as, one of the reasons the team wasn't successful. I put 23 far more on the defense than I do on Jalen Hurts or the offense, or Brian Johnson for that matter, or Brian Johnson for that matter. So, again, another example, not risk averse, in my opinion, a pretty successful offense. Then you go to 24, and this is where I think it all changed. Well, not where I think it, this is where it did all change. But remember the first 4 games of 24. Remember the first 4 games of 2024. We played the Packers, we played the Falcons, we played the Buccaneers, and I forget who the 4th team was that we played. First 4 weeks of the year last year, we were 2-2, went to the bye week. He had 7 turnovers in the first 4 games. 7 turnovers. Coming off of a high turnover count in the 2023 season. Again, we already talked about that, dictated by a lot of other things. Saints, thank you, Prince. Couple those first 4 games with the 23 season, I think they had a little bit of we need to stop turning the ball over. And they were like, let's double down on the run. Then the running game went on. Like, I don't think they expected the run to become one of the greatest running games in the history of football. It started to happen. And that cemented them in their approach. That made them double down and push more into that philosophy and that brand of football. None of us can knock them for that. That was a smart thing to do. I mean, we have a Super Bowl in the mantle. I got a damn Super Bowl hat sitting right here because of that. All right? I don't have this hat right now if they don't take on that risk-averse approach. So they took it on. They went on to be successful. But that's 1 year of really not even a full year last year of a much larger sample size of success in the Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni era. So to answer your question, Moneyline, no. Do I think it's contributed? Absolutely. Like I just said in the 24 Super Bowl 59. Do I think it's the only reason for our success? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In 22 and 23, our philosophy on offense was to use our playmakers. In 2024 and 2025, our philosophy is to just not make a mistake. Just don't turn the ball over. Just don't lose the game for us. And that's where I think you evolved, Moneyline. You evolved into the risk-averse offense in order to get wins because things weren't working. Now I think it's time to evolve back out of that. And you don't have to do it in a reckless way. I think so many people go to what do you want us to do? Throw the ball 40 times a game and have 40 points a game? Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that. But this risk-averse approach that they're doing, they need to take the chains off it a little bit. They need to open things up. They need to allow Jalen Hurts to play a little bit more free. They need to allow Kevin Patullo to call a more open game plan. That's my opinion on where the offense is right now. They got to evolve out of that now. I know we won in 24. I know we're 7-2. I know. Teams have caught up, man. Teams caught up to this running game. When you can't run the football, you're not going to be able to pass the football. When you can't pass and you can't run, you got an offense that looks like shit. And you need the defense to hold the Packers to 7 points to win. Now, I know we're 7-2. It's a tough battle, but it feels to me like this is a team that needs to evolve if they want to go the distance this year. And that's why I love A.J. Brown right now, man. I love A.J. Brown because if he wasn't there, I fear they would never look these problems in the face. I fear they wouldn't even think about these problems in terms of, really changing them. But A.J. Brown's there every week. This offense blows. We're not doing our job. We're not carrying our weight. We're not carrying our water. Every week he's saying this shit. And every week people bitch about it. But when you want to achieve greatness, you got to push to be better. You can't just be, okay, we won in 24. All right, we won the game. All right, we won 10-7. Everything's all good. Everything's all good. Got to keep trying to be better, man. And that's what I love about A.J. Brown right now. Look, I've been Team A.J., and I know some people call him, oh, he's like a chick. He's ego. He's this. He's that. No, he's not. I'm sorry. He's none of those things. He's far more mature than you give him credit for. He knows what the hell he's talking about. And frankly, he's right. Frankly, he's right. Let's go to my boy William Robinson. Thank you, brother, for the big super chat. I appreciate it, man. He says, Philadelphia has always been known for its defense. I cannot remember when we were some high-powered flying machine. Hurts is towing the company line because he has to, but you don't know what he is saying behind closed doors. I agree 100%. And I say this about A.J. Brown, too, because people say to me, William, why does A.J. Brown tweet? Why doesn't he just speak like he did today all the time? And I'm like, dude, you're saying that like you know everything that A.J. Brown says behind closed doors. Shut up, please. Some of these people have so much like, you don't know what A.J. Brown's saying behind closed doors. And by the way, this is also an organization that likes to muzzle people who don't believe what they believe or who don't think like them or have a different opinion. It's the truth. It's the truth about this organization. So I'm of the opinion that A.J. Brown goes in there and says shit, and Nick looks at him like he has 12 heads, and then he's like, "What the fuck, man? Nobody wants to listen to me. Nobody is giving any credit to what I'm saying. Nobody." So he goes over to Janky Rondo and says, "Man, this is a shit show." So he goes to social media, using me but not using me. That's what's happening. So I'm with you here, Robinson. And to your point about Philadelphia and defense, well, absolutely, man. Obviously known for the defense, but I will tell you this, William. This owner dreams of a high-powered offense. A high-powered offense. This owner dreams of a high-powered offense, man. He does. He's been dreaming of it for years. So they certainly want it. But yeah, I'm fine with defense being our identity, William. I'm not here to say I don't want defense to be the identity. But the fact of the matter is the offense has to do more. The offense has to carry their weight, like the old Beatles song. Oh, you gotta carry that weight a long time. Come on, offense. They got to carry their weight, That's where they are. That's what they're doing. That's what they got to do. Oscar says he's sabotaging your team every week. Selfish. Oscar, I'm sorry, man. I just really don't see it like that. I mean, you're entitled to your perspective, but I do not see it like that even a little bit. Even a little bit. And Oscar, I hate to say, I don't want to get personal with you, and I'm not going to do that. But when you want to be great at something, dude, you don't have the mentality of just like, okay, we won. Woo, go team. Wave the pom-poms. I'll see you next week. No. When you're aspiring for greatness, we talk about the golden age. Remember we talked about that when we won the Super Bowl? The golden age, everybody. The golden age of the Eagles is here. Do you think you're going to realize the results of the golden age if you're not pushing to get better? If you're not pushing to reach greatness every day in every area? I mean, if you're a player like A.J. Brown, you could have 200 yards in a game and you still look for more. You still think about the opportunities you missed. You still think about the route you didn't run right. Curtis says, when AJ talks, I like him more. When Nick talks, I start feeling like I might hate him as a human being. I don't hate him as a human being. Remember, Curtis, this is a tough place to be a coach, man. It really is. I'm not going to talk about Nick personally. But, yeah, I mean, look, he's the most boring press conference guy in the world. He gives you nothing, and look, that's fine. That's what Jalen does too. That's why I'm grateful for AJ, because he pushes the needle. He pushes the needle on this team to be better. And sometimes that's what leadership is. I know everybody thinks of leadership as just like, when you're on the sideline, like gassing your teammate up and you're like, yeah, and you're running, you're patting everybody on the back and you're giving pregame speeches and postgame victory speeches. That's not always what leadership is. Sometimes leadership is saying the hard shit. Sometimes leadership is bringing light to the things that aren't going well and what you need to improve on. Might not be your form of leadership, but it's still a form of leadership. All right. Roll Philly says, Z, we get it. Everyone sees it. Why keep bitching and bitching and bitching? Obviously, it's not helping. Roll, I think you're missing the point, man. I think you're missing it. I'm sorry. I think you're missing it. Prince says Jalen said a lot. Prince, I said I didn't have a chance to listen to it yet. I'm going to listen to Jalen after I get off. All right. Roll, I don't think it's that at all, dude. I think they're trying to get Nick Sirianni to buckle is what I think they're trying to do, dude. I think they're trying to get Sirianni to buckle. Stop this risk-averse philosophy. Open this thing up. Let Jalen Hurts play free. Let Kevin Patullo play free. Dial up some plays of your deep ball to your players. Come on, man. Let this thing hum. Use the talent in the room. We don't need to have this approach anymore that just don't lose us the game. And then go into the playoffs and say, okay, let's just turn it on. That's not a good approach. That's what AJ's telling you. It's not a good approach to just say, okay, when we need it, we'll activate it. It's never a good way to go about it. So, here's William again. William, what's up, buddy? Thank you, man. Lurie can't have a high-powered offense without turnovers. That's the caveat. No matter who the quarterback is, he can't have it both ways. So true. Team AJ, free Hurts. William, I agree 100%. I don't think it's Lurie that's harping on the turnover. Maybe it is, but I don't think it is. But you're right. I mean, look, I think people got to fall out of love with this turnover thing. I get it. Right now, it looks like a big part of the reason we're winning. I'm not saying to go crazy here and just trying to go crazy and, who cares if we throw 20 turnovers? I'm not saying that. But people keep pointing to this stat. Jalen's got 15 touchdowns and 1 turnover or whatever, 1 interception. It's great. It's because we don't play with risk. And I'd rather get this thing going with a little more risk. I'll accept some more interceptions. I'll accept some more turnovers if they come. If it means you get the playmakers involved, you get AJ going, you get Devontae going, you put teams back on their heels. And then you make them play you defensively differently. The running game opens up. More lanes open up. Defenses are second guessing when you run and play action. I mean, come on. All those things open up. All of those things open up. So I agree with you, William. It's actually a very good point by you. Like, if you want to have a high-powered offense, you got to fall out of love with this, like, never turn the ball over. Never. Guys, nobody in the fucking history of football never turns the ball over. Not Tom Brady, not Joe Montana, not Aaron Rodgers, not Patrick Mahomes. None of that. Stop. It's not the only way to win a football game is not turning the ball over. I'm going to show you something. So Patrick Mahomes has played in 5 Super Bowls, okay? He lost to the Bucs and the Eagles, all right? In the first Super Bowl, he had 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, all right? Tampa Bay Super Bowl, he lost. He had 2 picks. Eagles Super Bowl that he won, no picks. Super Bowl that he won versus San Francisco, 1 pick. Super Bowl that he lost, again, 2 picks. So he has 2 Super Bowls that he's won where he had 2 picks and 1 pick. One Super Bowl that he won, he had 0 picks. Now, it's not a perfect stat, but it's just to show you, like, you can win a game if you have a turnover, dude. It's nothing else. You can't, like, oh, God, 1 interception, we're never going to win again. We turned the ball over versus the Packers. We fucking were fine. Win in the halftime, 0-0. Like, I hate this narrative of 1 turnover always means you're, it's not the end-all, be-all. Turn the ball over in the, especially when you're on the other side of the field, trust the defense to get a stop. Trust the defense to get a stop. So, I'll take a couple more comments, then we'll get out of here. Tortyville, what's up, my man? Appreciate you. All the 3rd and 10 and 15-yard run calls, our coaches giving up on the pass game and reducing AJ and Devontae's opportunities. I agree with that, Tortyville. Somebody pointed out to me earlier, and I don't know if they sent me the stat, but somebody pointed out to me earlier that they run the ball on 3rd and long more than any team has in the last 25 years. Okay? Now, if that stat is true, again, somebody told that to me on the show, in the chat. I don't know if they sent it to me. I didn't see it anywhere. But hear me out. It's one thing to do that here and there. I get it. Weather game in Lambeau, great defense, great pass rush. You want to minimize the opportunities to put Green Bay in a scoring position. Okay, I get that. Okay, that's fine. The most ever in 25 years? Like, that's ridiculous. What are you talking? Like, take shots. Use your players. Use AJ. Use Devontae. Use Goddard. Use Saquon. Use Jalen Hurts. Stop. Here and there, fine. I get it. John's like, I don't know why people harp on this. This is what a lot of people do. Okay? To this level, to this extent, with this type of talent on the team, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So, yeah, and Prince, you're right. In the Super Bowl we won this year, Jalen had a pick. Wasn't the end of the world. Nobody even remembers that Jalen Hurts had a pick in this Super Bowl. Now, when you lose, I get it. You're in a game like the 22, and that fumble was the difference. Yeah. But, so look, that's not to say I want to just turn the ball over. You know? School says, all that sound good until that one turnover is the difference. It's true, School. But you know what else could be the difference maker, dude? Not moving the ball at all. Scoring 7 points in a game versus the Packers. Having the 26th ranked offense in pro football. Like that, can't that be a difference maker too? Can't that be a difference maker too? And we don't have that run game to fall back on this year. You know, we don't. So it is what it is. All right, guys, good commentary. I wish I got to play the video for you. I'm so very sorry that the audio didn't work. For those who were here at the beginning, I tried to play the comments from A.J. Brown, and they didn't work. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Sorry about it. I'll try and fix it for next time I do something like that. But I do appreciate you being here, guys. Great comments from A.J. Brown tonight. He's a misunderstood player is my final comments. He's a misunderstood player. He's a misunderstood man. He's a misunderstood leader. All right, he's a misunderstood leader. And the offense has to change. They got to do some things differently. I hope Nick Sirianni takes to heart what he says and actually looks at it from a big picture, because I think that's how A.J. Brown's looking at it. I don't think he's looking at it as, I didn't get 6 targets today and I'm upset. I really don't. I think he looks at the at large, the macro. The macro. We're not carrying our weight. We are not doing what we need to do as an offense to put the Philadelphia Eagles in the best chance to win week in and week out. Eventually, that could come and bite us in the ass. And if it does, I'm going to feel like shit about it, because I want to contribute to this team. Riding the bench says, what's better, being 14-3 with the BS offense or being 11-5, 12-4 with the more prolific offense? I picked the latter. It's a good question, dude. It's a great question. You know, I more lean your way of like picking the ladder there, but you got to understand why Nick might be picking the 14-3. You know, the problem is, like, when you're risk averse, you know, part of the things you need are the running game, and like you don't have that this year. We had the number 1 defense in football last year. Like, when you have the number 1, the defense is great. They're not number 1 now. They've gotten a lot better. Maybe they will be 1 by the end of the year, but. You know, if you don't have some of those variables, if you don't have being that great defense, if you don't have that great running game, you know, that lowers your margin for victory, or your margin for error, I should say. You know, it's okay. It's great that we're winning games. It's okay to look at this and say we're capable of not doing this by the skin of our teeth, you know, with the smallest margin for error possible. That's how they're playing right now. And it puts a lot of pressure on that defense. Now, they've lived up to it. Thank God for Vic Fangio, by the way. Vic Fangio is the best coach on this team. It's not even close. It's not even close. All right. AJ said the Wayne verse, what's understood ain't going to be explained, but you don't understand me, so let me explain. It's a great verse, Siglord. It's a great freaking verse. But, all right, man. Appreciate everybody being here. Hit that like button for me on the way out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already. All right, and I will see you guys in the morning. We'll talk to John McMullen about this on Birds 365, see what he has to say. Plenty of commentary to go around. Thanks for being here, everybody. See you next time.
Eagles. Eagles.